So the Olympics is a set of a few weeks every 4 years.
Yes.
What is in between? So obviously you're training,
Yep.
right? But how do you make a living otherwise? And also, are there other triathlon events that you compete in that are compensated, right? Like if someone wanted to be a triathlete,
Sure.
right? What does that look like?
So for me, I remember it is kind of complicated. People always ask me the question, like, how do you make a living doing? One, they don't even know that there's an actual international sport like this, right? That we can. And for me in triathlon, I do the Olympic distance. So my distance is a 0.93 mile swim, or just under a mile swim, 24.8 miles of cycling, and a 10K run, 6.2 miles of running. That's my Olympic or international distance. There's also the Ironman, which you see in Kona, which is much longer and an all-day event. Mine's almost a sprint race, an hour and 45 minutes for me to do to complete this race. And so people always ask, well, so are there prize money competitions? Is it just the Olympic Games? Because in the Olympic Games, you're not getting, it's not a prize money event the Olympic Games isn't. You get bonuses from sponsors and all that kind of stuff. So we would race in a uniform, right? Like a Lycra form-fitting uniform, and it'd be like a NASCAR. So you'd have your jersey, and then you'd have Nike on there if you were a Nike athlete, which I was. Toyota's on there. I was a Toyota athlete. Hy-Vee, I was a Hy-Vee athlete. Polo Ralph Lauren was the very first sponsorship I signed right out of college. I'm at Wake Forest University. It's my senior year, 1998. I fly up to New York City because I sent resumes out to Polo Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, and Nautica were my three companies because I just wanted to dress for success in and outside the arena of triathlon, outside the competition part, just on the podiums, to the airplanes, just look nice because that was my thing. I wanted to look nice. And so for me, I sent them a resume. They're saying, hey, why don't you fly up here, tell us more? And they're like, do you realize that we have a mountain biking line? We have a cycling line. We already have a mountain biking team. And I was like, I had no clue about that. And I said, this is perfect. You guys already make cycling gear. That's one of the harder things to make. You've already got the Lycra and the form-fitting outfits. It's RLX is their competition line, their athletic line. And so I was part of the very first Polo Sport Ralph Lauren triathlon team. They took care of me from head to toe. It was my very first sponsorship. I got bikes through them. I got clip bars through them.
Do you need to be Olympic caliber in order to get all that?
I did. I had to show that I had just won the Amateur Nationals the year before. I was graduating. They knew the Olympic Games were coming up in 2000. They were an Olympic sponsor. Polo Ralph Lauren is an Olympic sponsor. So they felt like there was a lot of ties to that. I couldn't just be fifth best in the country. I had to show that I was the best, and they saw that. Mm-hmm. And so they invested in 2 men and 2 women. That was my first deal. I went out to Colorado Springs, had free housing, free food. So my sponsorship wasn't great, but it wasn't bad, and my expenses were really low because I had free housing and free food at the Olympic Training Center. And I just wanted to totally try to make a living doing it. And I did. I ended up signing a Nike deal after the Polo Ralph Lauren deal left in 2001. After Sydney, I signed a Nike deal, which is the coolest thing for a young kid growing up to be able to walk into a Nike store and get whatever shoes he wanted, unlimited.
As a Nike athlete, you're in league with Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, formerly Roger Federer, Nadal, Sampras, LeBron, Nike. Tiger, everyone's Nike.
It's pretty cool. As a kid, like I said, as a kid growing up, it was a sponsorship that I just absolutely loved. And so they paid me to race in their uniform, to travel around the world, and to win races. Mm-hmm. And I did. And then, so you get paid some endorsements from sponsorships, from the Toyotas, the Nikes, the General Mills, the Wheaties, the Hy-Vee Corporation, which is like a Publix of the Midwest. All these different companies paid me, Clip Bar paid me to represent their brand, mm-hmm. like a NASCAR, like you kind of see. And so I did that. 80% of your funding should come from there. 90% of your income should come from there in a year, should come from endorsements. You want to leave the last 10% only up to prize money. Because if you get injured or something happens to you throughout the year, you have a bad year, you don't want to have all your money have to rely on prize money. And our prize money events are $5,000 to win, maybe $10,000 to win.
What type of events? Like just regular triathlons?
Regular international Olympic distance triathlons. And I can do between 12 and 15 in a year. So I can do 15 races and try to win 5 to 10 grand. But it's like golf. You might only win 2 or 3 races in 1 year.
And the most you can make off that, I'm being liberal here, like maybe 200,000?
That would be
like maybe
amazing.
Right.
That would be amazing.
Right.
Most aren't doing that. I would say probably a good year would be maybe 50.
Yeah.
On prize money.
Yeah.
In prize money. You want to have the other come from sponsorships. But there were a few races. There was a race called Battle of the Sexes. Lifetime Fitness put it on. It was in Minneapolis. It was the 18 best athletes from around the world men versus women, girls versus boys, and they would start the women out a certain amount of time in front of the men, and the goal was to have the women, it was about 11 minutes or so. They had this calculation they came up with, and they started the race. They did the mile swim, the 24.8 miles of cycling, and they finished, and they wanted to have the man chasing down the woman almost in the finishing chute to have it like a photo finish. That was the goal with the theoretical time advantage. Well, the woman won the first 4 years, and they were fighting over $200,000 prize purse was our prize to win. Not for the whole prize purse, but for the winning prize purse was $200,000, which for our sport was a really big deal. Like that's the big Happy Gilmore check, right? That's the check where you're like, wow, that's a lot of money.
Right.
So the girls won the first 4 years. A guy won in 2005, and I told my wife, because all the other races are $10,000 to win, $200,000 seems like a bit of a jump the shark. Like you don't really need that much in order to get there, right? So I told my wife, I go, I need to really try to win it. I've been trying to win the race, but try to win it before they actually canceled the event and say we're gonna do something else. Go somewhere, sponsor going somewhere else. And sure enough, I won it in 2006. I had just bought my first house. We were pregnant with my first child, and I won $200,000 in a RAV4, a Toyota RAV4. It was unbelievable.
It's a great family car.
It was a great family car. It worked out perfectly for me, and it was exciting that I got to win the biggest prize purse event in our sports history. And I did it again in 2014 at the Hy-Vee triathlon. They had another event that was $100,000. That was a little bit, but it was an amazing event that I won as well. So prize money you can do really well, but you have to be one of the best in order to do it, right? And in triathlon, there's no middle class. So there's a few of us that make a good living that can support our entire family doing it. There's no middle class. There's no one that's making, say, $40,000 to like $80,000, right? There's no $30,000 to $75,000. And then the rest of them are just like at the training center. They're on their uncle's couch. They're just, how do I get from here to really making it, you know?
Right.
And so I was fortunate enough for 18 years to get off my dad's payroll as quick as I possibly could, because his whole thing was like, so what's the plan here? Like, what's the end game? I mean, how are you gonna, I don't think parents can really maybe visualize the fact that, or dream as big as the fact that can you make a living really doing this? And I'm like, well, just give me a shot. Give me a couple years. Give me some backing, right out of college, give me some backing, and if I, can eventually get this thing going off the ground, I won't call you up anymore, for a credit card enhancement or whatever it is to help me out. And sure enough, I got off, within 18 months, I was off my parents and was doing my own thing and didn't really ever have to rely on them, and it was great.